Okay, in this session, I'm going to cover SAS 101, and you are actually seeing the code screen from SAS. I'm using on-demand SAS, using SAS Studio. And you see the tabs here, the code, that's the tab I'm on, and then there is a log, and then result output data. So I'm on the code, and I'm going to use the data set, the HotDog data set, from the book, Introduction to the Practice of Statistics by Moore, David, and McCabe. And this data set is from 54 samples of hot dog, and there are different types of hot dogs, and the calories and sodium in milligrams was measured on each hot dog, okay? And in SAS, you can read a CSV file. I've given the code here. You can also read a SAS data set that you can use this code to do that. But for this example's purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the data inside the code. So the data is embedded in the code, okay? So in SAS, you always start with the data step, data hot dog. So you are defining the data first. And then the hot dog, that's the name of the file. That's a temporary file that SAS creates. And then here, I'm saying the input, there are 3 inputs, type, calorie, sodium. Those are the input variables. And then the type of hot dog is a character variable. So anytime I have a character variable, and I need to put a $sign. Then I'm saying data lines, because I'm embedding the data in the code, I need to have this data line statement. Then as you can see, I've typed the data here. The first sample is beef hot dog, 186 calories and 495 milligrams of sodium. And then the second sample is again beef hot dog, 181 calories, 477 milligrams of sodium, and so on, okay? So you see the data. So I've got all the 54, lines of data. And then I'm just proc print is once I read the data, then I like to print the data to make sure that, the data is correctly read. So that's what that does. Proc contents is like a summary. It just gives you how many rows and columns, what type of data I have. And then proc means it's summarizing the data. It gives you the summary statistics. And then this is the overall calories, and only for quantitative data, you want to do the SAS will do the proc means. So for calories and sodium, it'll do that. And then I would like to break it down, the calories and sodium, by the type of hot dog. And then I would like to summarize the data for each, the beef and meat and the poultry hot dog. So then I'm using the by variable called type. And then my graphics on, let's not worry about it at this point. And then the proc univariate, so it's a univariate. Again, it's another way to summarize the data. Proc means is one way to summarize the data. Proc univariate is another way to summarize the data. And I'm summarizing, again, it's only the quantitative data, which is the calories and sodium you can use in proc univariate. And I'm drawing histogram. And then I want to break it down, the proc univariate, by the type of hot dog. So then I'm using the by variable type. So you'll break it down by the type. And then another way to visually look at the data is doing box plot. So again, I want to look at the calories and sodium by the type of hot dog. So that's what this box plot does. And then from univariate, I want to go to bivariate analysis. So I would like to see whether there is any relationship between calories and sodium. So then I'm using the scatter plot, just on the x-axis calories and the y-axis sodium, and then I'm grouping them. The group variable is type, so I'm grouping them by the type of hot dog. And then another way to do the same thing is using gplot, proc gplot, and calories versus sodium, and then equals type, okay? So anytime you see proc, that's like a function. If you are used or there are functions, and the functions are called proc in SAS, okay? So then when I click on this run command, so then SAS will run, and then it'll show you the results window. But quickly, you want to look at the log window. In the log window, you see the high level, anything you see this errors like this, the red circle thing, if that comes up, right here, that means that something is wrong, basically wrong in your code. And then warning means that this red triangle means warning, and then if it's this blue means everything is fine. So very quickly, you want to look at the log window, just look at that. It's all blue and black, you are fine. If there's a red font, that means that you have some issues, okay? So I've run the code, and then let me go to the result window. So first I did the proc print. So it's printing the data. And then as we saw before, the observation number 1 is the sample number 1, and that's a beef hot dog, 186 calories, 495 milligrams of sodium, right? Like that, I have 54 samples. That's the proc print. And then in the code, I had proc content. And SAS gives you a title. It says contents procedure. So this is the output of the code. I said proc contents. So this is the output. And there are 54 observations, 3 variables. Very quickly, it shows you how many rows, how many columns. Okay. And then there are a lot of other information. So let's not worry about those at this point. It also gives you summary of the list of variables. Alphabetically, it gives you the variables. And calories is a numeric variable. Sodium is a numeric variable. Type is a character variable. So it's summarizing that for you, okay? So then after that, we said proc means. So that means that it's going to summarize the data. And only the numeric data it's going to summarize. So for calories, the mean is 145 for all the data, for all the 54 samples. Sodium is 424. That's a mean. Then you see the range, minimum and maximum. So the calories range from 86 calories to 195 calories. So you get some idea about the range. Similarly, the sodium goes from 144 milligrams to all the way to 645 milligrams. So you get a quick idea what the mean is, what is the range, okay? So then we did the proc means, and then we broke it down by the type. So we used the bivariable type. So now it is broken down by beef, meat, and poultry. In the beef, there are 20 observations, mean calorie 156, mean sodium 401. For meat, there are 17 observations, and mean calorie 158, and then mean sodium is 418. So very similar, beef and the meat, the mean of calories, sodium are very similar. And then if you look at the poultry, mean calorie 118, so it is much lower than a beef or the meat in terms of mean calorie. But then if you look at the sodium, it's 459 milligrams, so it is higher. Poultry sodium is higher than beef and meat, okay? So very quickly, you get the idea about the 3 different type of hot dogs. And then the proc univariate, so we said proc univariate, and the output from proc univariate is this. So it gives you a lot of different summary statistics, gives you how many observations, the mean and standard deviation, skewness, all those things. And then it gives you the basis statistics, again, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, range, it gives you those. Then it gives you some kind of test, which we don't need to worry about. Then it gives you the quantiles here, okay? And then it gives you the extreme observations, the 5 lowest observations, what they are, 5 highest values, okay? So very quickly, if there are some large outliers, you will be able to see it very quickly from here, okay? And then it shows you the histogram. So you very quickly, by looking at the graph, you see that the calories, it goes from 90 to 190. The most frequent number is 150 calories overall. So you see that very quickly. And then it does a similar kind of analysis for sodium. Again, it gives you 54 observations, and then mean is 424. Again, it gives you mean, median, mode, all those statistics, standard deviation, so on. And then it gives you these percentiles. And again, it gives you the 5 lowest values, 5 highest values. Again, if there are outliers, you will be able to figure out very quickly. And then it gives you a nice histogram here. So you are able to see that sodium varies from 150 to 650, but there are very few samples in 150, 250 area, but the most frequency is about 350 milligrams of sodium, right? So then we did the proc univariate, and then we used the by type. So now it's breaking down the data set into 3 types of hot dogs. So now it's beef, and for the beef there are 20 samples. Again, it gives you the mean, standard deviation, all these statistics here. And then all the quantiles are given here. Again, it gives you the 5 lowest and 5 highest values, okay? Then it gives you the histogram of the beef, and it goes from 112 to 187. You are able to see that. And then there is a peak here in the 142 kind of calories for beef. And then for beef, again, for sodium, there are, again, 20 observations. Then, again, you are able to see the mean, median, mode, all those statistics. And then it gives you the percentiles or the quantiles. And the lowest and 5 highest and 5 lowest observations, again, you can see whether there are any outliers. And for the beef, the sodium, it goes from 240 to 640, and the mode or the most frequently occurring value is about 320, okay? So then the type is meat. So then we are looking at calories for meat. There are 17 observations, and then again you are able to see the statistics, the different statistics. Then you are able to see the quantiles, again the 5 lowest and highest. And then there is no one single mode. You see that it ranges from calories 110 to 190, and 130, 150, 170, 190, they're all modes, multiple modes here. And then for sodium, again 17 observations, and you are able to see all the summary statistics, and then the quantiles and the extreme observations. And then for the distribution of sodium for meat, if you look at the range, it goes from 150 to 550, and then the most frequently occurring value is somewhere you are seeing 350, 450 kind of range. So then we are moving on to poultry. And poultry, there are 17 samples. Again, you are looking at all these summary statistics for poultry, all the quantiles, extreme values, and then you are able to look at the distribution of calories. So you are able to see that it is from 90 to 150, and the most occurring value is 105. And then sodium, again, you see all the summary statistics for sodium, for poultry, and then you are able to see the quantiles and then the extreme observations. And then the histogram, it seems like it goes from 375 to 575, and the mode is 375. Now, we saw the histogram broken down by the type of hot dog, but very quickly using a box plot, we can actually have a very quick view of how the distribution of the data is for each one of these. So now in one shot, one picture, you are able to see that the distribution of the beef, the calories for the beef and meat, those are a lot more, there are variation there. But then the poultry, it's about similar variation, but it's significantly lower. You are able to see that the mean and median are much lower for poultry compared to beef and meat. Very quickly you get an idea of the distribution of calories for all the 3 types. And similarly for sodium, you are able to see that there is the distribution here for the beef and meat, which are a little bit more variation comparatively compared to the variation of the sodium for poultry. And also overall the mean and median right in the middle, both of them are slightly higher for poultry compared to the beef and meat, okay? So up to this point, we have seen, we have done a univariate kind of analysis, summary kind of analysis, and then summary tables, and also graphs using histogram and box plot. So now we can do bivariate analysis. We want to look at whether there is any relationship between sodium and calories. So I can do a scatter plot of sodium and calories like this. And generally, you don't see any relationship jumping out. And we want to, the colors are different. The type of hot dog is very difficult to see. So that's why I have written using a ProcGplot. Then specifically, the same plot I'm using, calories versus sodium, but then P for poultry, M for meat, B for beef. So now you are able to see the pattern, and all the poultry here, you see all the poultries are clustered here. So it seems like they have got a higher, on the higher sodium level, low calorie side. But whereas if you look at the meat group, all the blue, other than one outlier here, the meat is right in the middle of the sodium, then high in the calorie side. Then if you look at all the beef, again, there are a couple, high sodium here, but otherwise in the middle here, it's the middle kind of sodium, but then high on the calorie side, okay? So this gives you an idea of how to do exploratory kind of analysis, univariate, bivariate using SAS. And if you want to mimic this, I have this code in my website, so you can download the code and then run the SAS code for yourself, okay?